Hey everybody, this is BRAJESH here and you are watching your own channel CAB Info. If you are an employee and getting salary, then you may also be getting LTC, means leave travel concession, as part of your salary. You will say, what is new in it? If I am going on annual leave and take this payment from my employer, then it is free from income tax and no tax is charged thereon if I submit the tickets for traveling to employer. On the other hand, if I am not able to do the journey once in 2 years, then it becomes taxable under income tax and my employer pays me my LTC after deducting income tax. Since my income tax slab is 20%, therefore I get only 80% of my LTC amount from my employer. Keep watching this video till end to take the full benefit on this issue. This year, in view of the COVID-19 pandemic and resultant nationwide lockdown, as well as disruption of transport and hospitality sector, as also the need for observing social distancing, a large number of employees are not able to avail of LTC, that is leave travel concession, in the current block of 2018-2021 because they could not travel. If I tell you the way by which you will not be liable to pay the income tax on your LTC amount even if you do not undertake journey, how you will feel? You will say, it will be amazing if I could save the income tax on my LTC payment. Of course, you will be pleasantly surprised that even if you do not undertake journey and claim your LTC amount from your employer, then no income tax shall be charged on the LTC amount subject to fulfillment of certain conditions. The income tax exemption in respect of receipt of deemed LTC fare by a non-central government employee, that is, private sector employees, shall be allowed subject to fulfillment of certain conditions with a view to compensate government employees and incentivize consumption, thereby giving a boost to a consumption expenditure. The central government allowed payment of cash allowance equivalent to LTC fare to central government employees subject to fulfillment of certain conditions, while their OM, that is office memo dated 12th October 2020, it has also been provided that since the cash allowance of LTC fare is in lieu of deemed actual travel, the same shall be eligible for income tax exemption on the lines of existing income tax exemption available for LTC fare. In order to provide the benefits to other employees also, that is non-central government employees or private sector employees who are not covered by the above mentioned office memo dated 12th October 2020 meant for central government employees, it has been decided by the central government to provide similar income tax exemption for the payment of cash equivalent to LTC fare to the non-central government employees also, that is, private sector employees. Accordingly, the payment of cash allowance subject to maximum of rupees 36,000 per person as deemed LTC fare per person round trip to non-central government employee shall be allowed income tax exemption subject to fulfillment of certain conditions. This income tax exemption will provide income tax relief to those employees who are already planning some expenditure such as purchase of vehicle, electronic items, home improvement or any other similar expenditure on items attracting GST at the rate of 12% or higher rate. Now you will be eager to know the conditions which are required to be fulfilled for getting this exemption. Income tax exemption on receipt of deemed LTC fare by a non-central government employee, it is private sector employee, shall be allowed if they fulfill the conditions like the employee exercises an option for the deemed LTC fare in lieu of the applicable LTC in the block year 2018-21. The employee spends a sum equal to 3 times of the value of the deemed LTC fare on purchase of goods or services which carry a GST rate of not less than 12% from GST registered vendor or service provider through digital mode during the period from 12th October 2020 till 31st of March 2021 and obtains a voucher indicating the GST number and the amount of GST paid. For example, if deemed LTC fare for a family of 4 persons is rupees 80,000, then that employee is required to spend rupees 2,40,000 till 31st of March 2021 on purchase of goods or services which carry a GST rate of not less than 12% from GST registered vendor or service provider. Also, this payment should be made through digital mode and not in cash. Further, this payment or expenditure should be made between 12th October 2020 to 31st of March 2021. Next, the employee should obtain a voucher on which the GST number of the vendor or service provider should be mentioned and GST amount charged by the vendor or service provider should be shown. Thus, if an employee spends rupees 2,40,000 or above on the items just discussed by me now with you, then he shall be entitled for full deemed LTC fare and the related income tax exemption. Means no income tax shall be charged on this LTC amount. However, for example, if employee spends rupees 1,80,000 only against rupees 2,40,000 as in the case of example just discussed by me now, then he shall be entitled for exemption of 75% of the 80,000 rupees, that is rupees 60,000 of the deemed LTC fare and the related income tax exemption. In case the employee already received rupees 80,000 from employer in advance, then he has to refund rupees 20,000 to the employer as he could spend only 75% of the required amount. An employee who spends less than 3 times of the deemed LTC fare on specified expenditure during the specified period shall not be entitled to receive full amount of deemed LTC fare and the related income tax exemption, and the amount of both shall be reduced proportionately. As explained in my example above, your employer shall allow income tax exemption subject to fulfillment of the above conditions after obtaining copies of invoices of specified expenditure incurred during the specified period. Further, as this exemption is in lieu of the exemption provided for LTC fare, an employee who has exercised an option to pay income tax under the concessional tax regime under section 115 BAC of the Income Tax Act, that is lower rate of income tax, then he shall not be entitled for this exemption of LTC. The clarification issued by the Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance for the central government employees, White Office Memo and subsequent clarifications issued in this regard shall apply equally to non-central government employees, that is private sector employees, also subject to fulfillment of conditions specified as discussed by me just now. However, there is a catch. If you are under 10% slab of income tax, then this is not beneficial deal for you, because if you take the LTC amount and pay the income tax at the rate of 10%, which shall be 8,000 rupees only on LTC amount of rupees 80,000. However, if you avail the exemption scheme declared by the central government, then you have to make the purchase of at least rupees 2,40,000, on which you have to pay GST amount of rupees 28,800, means you will end up paying at least rupees 20,800 more in the form of GST if you avail the exemption under income tax for LTC. However, if otherwise you are going to purchase goods or services of rupees 2,40,000 without the compulsion of taking the benefit of LTC exemption under income tax, then this will be beneficial for you, because you will end up saving rupees 8,000 of income tax, since you will be paying GST of rupees 28,800 even otherwise on your purchases. The saving may be higher in case of a person falling in the income tax slab of 20% or 30%. If no forced purchase is made for claiming the income tax exemption for LTC, then the saving may be rupees 16,000 in case of tax slab of 20% or rupees 24,000 in the case of tax slab of 30%. Thus, this income tax benefit may actually be considered as discount on expenditure which employee has already planned to incur instead of forced purchase for availing income tax exemption on LTC amount. This is the innovative scheme designed by the central government to give the income tax benefit to employees on one hand and increase the spending by employees on services and goods, so that there may be a push to the economy on the other hand due to increased expenditure and demand push. Every employee has to examine and plan according to his own income profile that what shall be beneficial to him or not. Still, if you have any more doubts or queries, then post them in comment box so that they may be suitably answered. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.